Hey guys, welcome back. We are live for week 4 of the conversation. How are you this day?
I'm good, sweetheart. How are you? You know what?
I'm uber relaxed. I did a thing today.
Uh-huh.
I got acupuncture
Ooh.
and I had her do like an adjustment because you remember how my hands like swell and stuff for no reason. So like apparently I had some ribs out of place and they were like
Oh.
pinching and there's some and that's what was basically causing the swelling and the nerves to tingle in my hands. Because like it's been a couple hours since I've gotten it done and like my swelling is I can actually make a fist. Who knew? Who knew?
And so those spas and the acupuncture therapy places are open now?
Yeah, it's just like a little tiny suite with just me and her. And there's no one else in there. So she's wearing a mask. I wear a mask till I get in there. But then, they put you on that table and you have to be able to breathe. So you didn't take your mask off because it's a little hard and she used the drop table. So I probably would have suffocated had I have. So she uses a lot of gravity to help with the adjustment, which is probably why it actually works. Because most of the time I can't ever get my shoulder blades adjusted and it feels like the people are like laying on my body, which no thank you.
Right.
I don't like that.
You're well adjusted and
I am. Thank you so much.
And nice and smooth. We have a special guest tonight, which I'm very excited. My culinary brother, Chef Kenny Gilbert, and it looks like Shanita, he's on.
Okay.
Let me do like a little tiny introduction.
Okay.
I've known Kenny for quite a long time. Back in the day of chef days in Bravo. And a little bit before that time. He's just a good person. I love his talent is amazing. He's very passionate about culinary. He's very passionate about his talent. He's very passionate about the industry that we in this time right now. And I think that's what we're going to really hit those kind of notes with Kenny today. And you guys, I just want to introduce you to Chef Kenny Gilbert. Hey, buddy.
Hi. There you are.
Finally got it.
Okay. Technology. Can you guys believe that I literally learned how to use this platform maybe 6 weeks ago?
Well, you're doing awesome.
I know, right?
Yes.
And I didn't even have to get my teenagers to help me. I was able to execute learning this all by myself. So nice to meet you online, Kenny. Everybody who's watching, I posted the link to the article in the comments section if you'd like to read it. So you just kind of can be up to speed with what we're talking about. But so when Erica sent me the article the first time, it was as jaw-dropping for me, but like not in a bad way, as the Instagram post from the staff of Bon Appetit. Like both of those articles had me like, finally, someone said it. Yeah. So why now? Why the candor? Why? And maybe you want to give people a little bit of background as to even how it came about that you even wrote that article.
So my PR manager, Nicole Albano, reached out to me and said, "Hey, Zagot would like to actually get your take on what's going on in the climate of, with just what's happening in society and whatnot." And I said, "Yeah, sure." And so when I think his name is Chris, the writer, basically reached out to me, he had teed it up by saying, "Hey, I spoke to Nicole, and she's obviously very passionate about the fact that it's been hard to get African American chefs in the spotlight, especially where they are deserving in a lot of different areas, and because we've been working together for years, and it's being in New York and hitting all these major markets, and we've always been doing really cool stuff and good food." And she's like, he teed up by saying, hey, I understand we've fallen short. And, so I'm ready to ready for you to give me whatever I deserve. So I was like,
and you said, okay, challenge accepted.
Exactly, challenge accepted. It wasn't even a challenge. It's very easy for it to roll right off of the tongue. So basically, the article, he teed up an initial question about like, how do I feel about Black chefs being neglected in media for the most part, and I just say, well, I'm very upset. I've been upset for a long time. It's not like this is something that has been just like, oh, it's brand new because of what has actually been happening, with Ahmad and Brianna and George and now everyone else, and now that all of a sudden media decides to wake up and try to say, oh, let me make my publication relevant so that I don't get shut down because we know that we've been neglecting, African Americans and other, Black and brown people alike in these publications. And we've only been really spotlighting, the ones that we feel are relevant in our neck of the woods and whatnot. So it's a lot of
layers.
It's a lot of layers to it. But what kind of bothered me was, based on my history as a chef, back in '96, I was running the grill room in the Ritz-Carlton Amelia Island. I was 23 years old. I was the only Black chef in the company that was running a 5-diamond 4-star restaurant. There was only 3 restaurants in the entire company of Ritz-Carlton that actually had that distinction. In the United States, there was only 40 restaurants in the United States that had that distinction, and you can put in La Bernardin and L'Espionage and Danielle and Jean Georges and Charlie Trotters. I mean, the list goes on and on. And so I know my pedigree. I didn't actually have to put it out there. Like, I already knew, because in that kind of arena, especially in the Ritz-Carlton world, you're not necessarily, they don't pride themselves in actually giving you press. They look at it like, hey, you work for the Lion. It's almost like you're a Yankee or you're working for the Dallas Cowboys. Like, hey, you're putting on these pinstripes. It is what it is. You take what you can get. So I understood what that was, and I worked my way up. And that's a whole nother conversation about my challenges and trials and tribulations associated with that. My issue with Zagot now reaching out to me in particular was the fact that for years they've been putting other people on a pedestal for doing food that is not appropriate, that theirs is not theirs. Now, and it just so happened that the poster child in my mind for this was Sean Brock. And I said, listen, now you're taking a person that basically is not, I'm not saying he's not talented. Everyone knows about Sean's story because guess what? Everyone fucking wrote about it. New York Times, Esquire, Bon Appetit, Food and Wine, Zagot, you name it, everyone talked about it. Here's the messiah of Southern cuisine. He has all these tattoos. He's super brilliant. He's doing this molecular gastronomy, da 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 da. And the reality is that I looked at it like there's a lot of other people that are doing great things. Now, taking the art of molecular gastronomy that was literally created by some Spanish chefs, Fran Andrea, Alberto Andrea, that morphed into a lot of other things. They bred everyone that was doing molecular gastronomy. So there's always going to be someone that has done it before you.
Right.
The reality is, in terms of Southern food, okay, I'm not saying that he didn't grow up in the South, but in terms of items that basically are natural to us and that we basically created in our culture, to take it and to put this person up on a pedestal without doing research to see who's done it before, it was my issue. And then that kind of turned into me being angry about the fact that they're basically celebrating someone that basically had known issues, public issues, public drunkenness, so on and so forth. He was sick. He had an illness. It is what it is. But they still celebrate it. And then when he came out with his illnesses and saying, oh, well, I'm admitting that I have these issues. I've lost my sight, all these kind of things. The fact of the matter is that it became for me, it was like, okay, so we all know they're sweeping under the rug, like they do everything. Let's sweep under the rug the fact that he has all these issues. Let's not talk about the talent of the person that basically was given X amount of dollars to go and research. Yeah, he can go sit with BJ and talk about Gullah cuisine. And BJ's gonna be like, yep, anyone that wants to talk about it, he's gonna basically spread the knowledge and everything else. He's just giving him no fucking ammunition to take something that basically he should boost him up, put him in the restaurant, and have him celebrate his culture and his cuisine. So like that was my issue overall, was like the fact that they just overshadowed the fact that it was okay for him to get into fights. He got in fights with Hugh Atchison, fish fights at events, drunken, like we did an event in Miami at Yardbird. This cat literally came in where he couldn't even stand and was being held up by a chef de cuisine. He's eating out of tilt scales. Like, oh man, like, who made this? How'd you make it? I'm like, listen, you're not the only one who knows how to cook Southern cuisine. I said, I do this like fucking I'm breathing. Not like I don't have to go and work with somebody else that doesn't look like him in order to learn how to do it.
Right.
I was staying at the side of my grandmother in St. Augustine that raised 7 kids. I was a diabetic that cooked on a consistent basis because it was a requirement to make sure she was nurturing, putting nourishment into her family on a consistent basis. So I was irritated. So that it kind of went into that direction, and then the rest of the article basically was turning into like me just trying to justify why we should not be just looked at as, because right now it's like there's gonna be another Me Too movement. It's like no one wants to be basically put on a pedestal, like look at me like I'm a fucking show monkey, because all of a sudden it's a relevant time. It's been fucking relevant for 400 years. You know what I'm saying? Like our relevancy doesn't just happen because all of a sudden it's publicized that this person was fucking lynched again. Someone being lynched right in front of us for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. Someone kneeling on his fucking throat and basically killing him in front of everyone to see in the world. What do you think's gonna fucking happen? So like just to contact me now and to say, well, Kenny, what do you think? The fuck do you think I think? Like I'm pissed off. I'm upset. I'm literally. Me and my wife are coming back from vacation this past weekend. We're down to Orlando, met with some friends, and then on the way home, we're literally driving and talking and listening to the David Chappelle segment. Called 840.
I haven't listened to it yet. I haven't listened to it yet, but I'm going to.
Let me tell you, there's no comedy in it at all. If you ever listen to David Chappelle's comedy in general, he always talks about civil rights, racism. Okay, that's what he does. I mean, he basically played a Ku Klux Klanman that was black that basically infiltrated the Ku Klux Klan. It was a joke because he's like, this shit is real. If you're not woke to realize that if we end up killing one of theirs,
right?
Okay, if it was a black cop that did what happened, guess what? The entire town would be fucking burned down. There would have been fucking burning crosses in everyone's fucking yard, and so on and so forth. So
a black cop actually did do that in Minneapolis just a few years before that. Accidentally, the perpetrator attacked the cop, and he accidentally shot him. He is currently serving 13 years in prison, and they paid the man's wife. She got a settlement.
Yeah. See, like when you watch this segment, when David was kind of talking about it, I literally started bursting out in tears as I was driving down 95 or up 95. I was like, literally, it was uncontrollable tears coming out. There's pressure points about things that will affect different people, right? And when David was talking about the fact that he says 8 minutes and 46 seconds. He was talking about all the relevancy to those at that time were made to him. He was born at 8:46 on 8:24 and like 65 or whatever it was. So he was hitting all these points. But then he started talking about how the fact that the man basically cried out for his mother and how he basically was saying please and all these kind of things. And I just all my emotions came. I was so freaking angry. And I've been. Anyone that knows me and we've had dialogue about where we are in our culture and our profession, I will always sit here and put myself up as I'm the best. I'm not going to sit here and say I fucking suck. I'm going to sit here and say that I study, I work hard, I bust my ass. I don't care what it is. And that's why it's in the article. Put it collard greens for collard greens, black eyed peas for black eyed peas, so on and so forth. I don't even have to think about that. You want to start talking about throwing in other cultural diversity in food or whatever, then then that's even a whole nother spectrum. So like, I'm always going to be very proud of who I am and how I've come up, because I know I put in the work, and I would challenge anybody. And if I lose, I lose. But don't put these other people on a pedestal and you don't give us a fucking opportunity. That was my whole point. I was like, I don't care if you're white, if you're Asian, if you're Hispanic, I don't care. Make it fair. And so for me, I was actually, I was upset and basically I feel highly disrespected to the fact that now you want to actually get the call and talk to the people, because they still don't even know. I told them, I said, you guys put out articles talking about the best this scenario. Say it's the best cheesecake. Oh, this is the best cheesecake in the Southeast. Well, how do you know this person's cheesecake isn't better than Erica's cheesecake if you haven't had Erica's cheesecake?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So change the article. Say that you happen to do an article on cheesecake, and based on the places you went, this is what you like. Don't say this is the top 25, because you're misleading the people. And then the people that are out there saying, well, man, I know I put out like 1 million cheesecakes last year at freaking $15 a cheesecake. So I know I'm doing well. But how can I be? Well, you know what? As John T. Edge would say, what he's told me to my fucking face. This is what I've said. The fact of the matter is, I've done events. John T. Edge from Southern Foodways Alliance, that has the publication out there that basically goes around and it's like, if he puts his stamp on you, then you're Southern and you know how to cook their food. Yeah, fuck that. I'm sorry. The reality is that the man looked at me. I was doing an event at the Music to Your Mouth Festival in Palmetto Creek, an event that my brother created when he was executive chef there back in 2010. My brother created that event as executive chef. He got 5 diamond, 5-star for that hotel. See, people don't know. They don't understand the lineage. So like, but I will tell you the truth. I will tell you exactly how it was going down. And the fact is, John T. Edge came up to me just like Dan Bancroft, just like the cat from Blue Smoke up in New York, just like Rodney Scott. Everyone was surrounding my table. I did some jerk smoked ribs. I made love to those ribs all day. I put them out there. I did like some curry or some coconut curry collard greens, almost like a callaloo. I did like I did all this really beautiful dish. Everyone was standing around like, oh my God, where everyone's taking pictures. And that happens at every event that I do. I'm not boasting, I'm not bragging, I'm just stating facts. John T. Edge came over to me and said, man, every event that you do, your food is always some of the best, if not the best, that I've tasted in the area. I said, well, if it's that great, why haven't you brought your ass down to Jacksonville and actually patronized some of my businesses? Because I will show you around Jacksonville. And it's not just about me. I just want them to come to Jacksonville. Just come to Jacksonville. Come to Jacksonville and I will show you that there's great chefs and great talent, not just Black, around. Because like I told Nicole years ago, I said, I'm paying you. I want you to help put this on the map. And if I'm the vessel to help that, then it'll be great for the city. So I've done that for years. And he looked at me in my face and said, I'm sorry, I never go down to Jacksonville. I never go by there. It's something where I always bypass. And the likelihood of me going to Jacksonville is not likely unless there's something really dramatic. John Current, who's like an advisor for Southern Foodway Alliance, ate some alligator that I did for another event. He says, Kenny, I will tell you, I'm born and raised in Mississippi. There's gators all over the place. I always stray away from it. You've turned me into a believer. There's no reason why we shouldn't be celebrating this animal and actually consuming it at a very high level. Thank you for that. And then he looked at John T. You need to get him in Oxford for the conference because he is making a difference. He told him right to his face. You think John T. has said, let me reach out to Kenneth Jason Gilbert, who does all this stuff. Now, I guarantee if it was something relevant because they saw me cooking for someone at a very high level, they saw, like when I was cooking for Jeff Bezos, when Oprah Winfrey says, hey, Kenny, you know what, you serve the best barbecue I've ever had, and you the best Southern food I've ever had in my 60 years on this earth. I told Jeff Bezos that you need to do this event for 350 of the most powerful people in the world. Okay, he called me. She could have called Art Smith and said, "Hey, we want you to come and do this." They ain't call Art Smith. She called me personally. Didn't call her chef, who's my good friend. She called me. He texted me, said, "Oprah's gonna be calling you." Da da da. We negotiated it. I went out there, did the event for a Reese Witherspoon, like you name it, they were there. And so I'm thinking to myself, that's another part of the article. I was like, if you don't think that I know what the fuck I'm doing, I just cooked for some of the most powerful people in the world for the last 5 years. I can name hundreds. Like, give us our fucking due. Give us our credit. And you know what? And at the end of the day, I just want my businesses to thrive and be successful, because I always had a culturally diverse team.
Right.
So it's not about just us, but don't leave us out of the conversation because you just want to leave us out of the conversation. And you want to get someone else, as an example, a Sean Brock, that is not paid on. Because guess what? I've done everything right. I've said the right things. I've been politically correct. I'm not fucking like, don't have any common sense, or I know how to speak. So when I decide to use an adjective like fuck, I'm using it with intent.
That's
and
my
with
favorite
purpose.
word.
Yeah, I'm saying with intent and with purpose.
I love that word. It's very purposeful. But do you feel like, I feel like sometimes and this is just, I'm in Kansas City virtually by myself, but I do feel like that at times I have to be extraordinary and people get away with being mediocre. And that like really bugs me. And I know that like Cutthroat Kitchen wasn't like, okay, it's not like one of the top tier shows on Food Network, right? But damn it, I won. But also at the same time, one of the chefs for a healthcare provider went on Beat Bobby Flay and lost. So the newspaper did a full page like this about the dude that went on Beat Bobby Flay and lost. I got this, a little picture and like 4 sentences. I'm like, I won my damn show. This dude just went on.
And Cutthroat Kitchen is exactly that. I won my episode of my season as well, and I will tell you that was harder than anything I ever did, because guess what? Everyone is definitely out to get you. You know they're out to get you, and the challenge they put on you, you have to think. Your mental toughness as well as your skill has to be on point. And all I know.
Feet, then that is a show where if you can't think on your feet and you can't deal with pressure, then you're just screwed. I mean, and that in my season, Elton Brown would just stand by you, and you're like, why the fuck are you standing right here? Yeah. I am trying to focus. I'm gonna need you to go over there.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, I don't understand why you're over here, but I need you. Like, I mean, I can tell you that morning before they picked me up, I had a full-on breakdown and called her, and I was like, she was like, get your shit together. I said,
I have to take your shit together because you are a very strong person, and but she does it every time she does television. She has a little mental breakdown. She needs to do that so then she can shake herself back into place. But that's what you do when you do television. And at the same time, just to jump on what Chrissy said, us as Black chefs, we have to be so much better than the next, only because we have to be better. We have to stand out. We have to be over the top with our food and with ourselves so that we can stand out. And regardless if they see us stand out on a constant basis, but they ignore it. And that's so annoying. As Chrissy just said, she said, you always have to prove that you know what you're doing. And these power conversations is so annoying. It is annoying. It's annoying on a constant basis. We wake up annoyed.
That's right. Yeah, it's like any person I've ever hired, I've always brought them in, and usually if they're a female or they're a person of color, I always have the same conversation. You're going to end up having to work twice as hard to validate who you are, not because of me, but just know that I'm going to give you the same opportunity that I give to everybody else. And that goes for anybody. But the reality is, realize that you are always going to have to work that much harder because you're always going to be doubted. Because they look at you like, you know, when I was the chef of the grill room, like I literally had a person come down from corporate, Otto Svensson. He came down from corporate during the Boston Lawn Tennis Tournament. He basically set up a meeting in the lounge of the restaurant, the grill room, and the front of the house and the kitchen staff were there. And he sat there and he told this whole beautiful story about how we got the 5 Diamond Award. He was very proud of what we accomplished, but he sat down with the inspector and he wanted to know why. He says, why the grill room? At that time, we didn't have the china, we didn't have the frette linen, we didn't have the glassware. We were working off of banquet china, very basic linen, no different than a cafe. The uniforms were very generic. We weren't whatever. It was the beginning stages of me taking over in '96. After, you know, he said, the inspector said, well, it was because of the food. Because every bite that I took, I wanted to have another bite for every course. You guys may have fell short in a couple little areas, but I felt that the food was strong enough to carry you to take you to the 5 Diamond level.
Right.
When we come back, we're expecting you to have all the bells and whistles, which is money, right? You could change the glass throughout to Riddell and have every stem for every type of wine. And we did all that. But at the end of the day, the food is not delicious and craveable. They're not going to come back. So I'm sitting up like a proud peacock, feathers up, I'm pumped. He then sits me down in front of the window. It was table 23 in the dining room. We're overlooking the ocean. He was like, hey, I want to have a private conversation with you. I said, yes, sir. We sit down. He looked at me and says, hey, do you want to be known as a world-class chef? I'm 23 years old. He's probably about 55. White German man that's traveled around the world, corporate food and beverage director for Ritz-Carlton. And I'm like, okay, what is he going to say next? He says, well, if you want to be known as a world-class chef, you have to go work with world-class chefs. You need to leave out this position because you're not deserving of it. And we in corporate didn't want you to have it. Okay. So imagine being boosted up where your adrenaline, you're on this high level because this person just put you on this pedestal.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he brings you down and it says, really?
He in the
down.
He shot me down. So then I sat there and I basically kind of sat up even prouder. And he says, well, what do you have to say about that? And I said, well, I thank God that, Carl Anthony Gilbert and Carlotta Gilbert basically raised me to be who I am. Because the reality is I didn't ask for this position. I earned the position. They asked me when my father was on his deathbed if I wanted this position. When Matthew Medore was leaving to go open up Matthew's, which is now a great restaurant, been in Jackson for a long time. I didn't ask for this position. If you want me to get more exposure, then basically continue the education with me. But if you think I'm going to step down like some kind of punk and I'm going to take this lightly, that's not going to happen. Because you know what? I took this job because they offered it to me. I've been doing the job for years. So then he got up and left. He said, well, we'll see about that. So I'm like, this cat is out of control. So I remember having conversations and immediately I'm thinking, like, this is a racist motherfucker that basically just tried me. Because he was trying to say, Danielle, this guy named Danielle, he worked on the Gunther Seeger back in the day, white chef. If you looked at it on paper, and I'm being politically correct right now and accurate. If you said, okay, we have a position that's available in an area, and we're going to take this person, just say colors out of it, just to say the facts. I'm just talking facts right now. That this person works under Gunther Seeger. They've had a 5 Diamond Award, 5-star award for 10 years. This person's been a sous chef. You want to give him, he would love to move to Amelia Island and take the position. So when that becomes available, we're going to give it to him. Versus someone that is 23 years old and that had 2 years of experience being a sous chef. On paper, it made sense for Danielle to have that. But guess what? The general manager, Michael Karsh, the executive chef, Lawrence McFadden, the food and beverage director, Stephen Schaefer, they said, we want Kenny. This is our hotel. He knows the market. He's been doing the job. We're going to give it to him. My food and beverage director was best friends with a corporate person, Otto. They were godparents each other's kids. He literally left. Like, Stephen Schaefer left the hotel. I didn't know about that until years later. But all I know is Otto stepped down. Another person came on board. 2 more people: Gerard Van Grinsven, who was a corporate new food and beverage director, and Peter Schuck. One was a Dutchman, one was a Swiss guy. They came down, ate dinner with me, had 10 courses with me, sat me down at the same table, and said actually the same damn question: do you want to be known as a world-class chef? I'm like, this is some bullshit. They just asked me the same damn question. This cat just asked me a couple months ago. I said, yes, I do. They said, how can we help you achieve that? Because the dinner we just had last night, we completely understand why you're at a 5-diamond, 4-star level right now. And we want to basically help you, take you to another level. What can we do? And then I said, I would love to be able to stage in different countries, da, 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 da. And I didn't really know, but that's initially what I said. They said, well, this is what we're going to do. As long as you keep getting the 5-diamond award, we're going to give you a $10,000 increase every year. We're going to send you off to wherever you want to go for 30 days, all expense paid, wherever you want to go once a year. We're going to have you basically working at every high-level event that we have in the United States that's representative of fine dining and so on and so forth for different charities to give you the exposure. And they did that for the next 4 years for me. I staged in Spain, France, Japan. I can't tell you how many. I did so many events, I didn't want to do any more events. But guess what? My point is, you had one person. So for me, I looked at it as like, here's this one person that is German. Was he really racist? Or did he just really feel that I wasn't deserving? Because technically, yeah, if you look at it on paper, I probably wasn't ready. But I had 3, and everyone in this whole conversation was white. You know what I'm saying? There was 3 people that were on board. There was one person that was not on board, and there was 2 other people that were now on board. But guess what? I proved everyone that believed in me right. I worked with that chip on my shoulder the rest of my life. And I always went back in my head, was it race or was it because of how old I was and so on and so forth? But you know what? When you have the president of the hotel company, Horst Schulze, that has written countless books and whatever on fine dining hospitality, he's considered to be the modern day, Caesar Ritz. Literally call you up and say, I'm leaving Ritz-Carlton. I'm opening a new hotel company called Capella. We want you to be the executive chef of that hotel in Colorado. I'll tell you about Colorado. I mean, that's what happened. And I took that job years later. So my point is, like, it's really hard for me because right now we're talking about our relevancy. Do we accept it? All this kind of stuff. You know what? We're going to be in a Me Too movement times 10 for a long time. I say that we take every opportunity we possibly can. We be professional. We let our experience and our passion speak for itself. Okay. Yeah. If someone calls us up and says, hey, here's an opportunity, we showcase who we are and to another level. And guess what? We don't all have to cook Southern because we're freaking Black. There's some people that grew up in the North that never even ate Southern food because they grew up in other areas that were only cooking what it was used to having in that area. They looked at like eating Southern food when they go visit their grandmother down in Alabama for a summer. That's the only experience they had. I had a Southern mother and grew up eating that in the North. My dad was from Chicago. My mom's from St. Augustine. So I had I understand the best of both worlds. But just because we're Black, African American, doesn't mean that we're going to always be passionate about that food. Because if you think about the history, the slave owners, guess what? The masters were eating prime rib and pork chops and all the prime cuts. We got all this shit. We got all the scraps. And we had to be a resilient people. Our ancestors had to be resilient and learn how to take those products, preserve them, cook them so that we can eat and have nourishment to go back in the fields to take care of what we had to do to take care of our families that were bringing up. And you ask yourselves now, why do we actually have, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes? Because we're eating all the entrails, all the innards, everything. Okay, we didn't have the balance, and now it's our responsibility to understand our past, work on our present, and then move forward our future. Southern food doesn't have to be heavy. It doesn't have to be like high fat. Okay. I can do a LaGuardian style linguine pasta. okay, a Liguorian linguine pasta from Italy, Liguaria, and literally have a pesto, pasta, a potato, freaking some cheese, and green beans, right? Now, I can easily manipulate that dish because I'm here in the South and create a Southern pasta that is, instead of being made just with basil for a pesto or parsley or whatever, and maybe make a mustard green or a collard green pesto. I don't have to do green beans. I can do roasted okra. I don't have to do regular potatoes. I can do sweet potato to make it my own while respecting the other culture and articulating where it came from, and make it light and flavorful, where basically it has probably even less calories than the original from that culture. But you have to be educated. You can't just sit back and be like, well, I grew up eating eggs and grits and sausage every morning. That's the only thing I know for breakfast. No, I'm sorry. Research. Education. Now, that's why they say knowledge is power. Knowledge is power.
I do feel like
they know that, oh shit, they just took our cuisine and made it. We took our cuisine to a whole nother level. But guess what? I can do Thai. I can do Vietnamese. I can do everything else too.
Right. I do feel like the people put themselves in a box with Southern food, and here it's if I'm going somewhere, it's gonna be fried chicken. I'm gonna get some sweet potatoes, some yellow macaroni and cheese, some type of yeast roll, or like a fried pork chop, or some red beans and rice, or some biscuits and gravy. And there's times where I want that, but quite frankly, I'm like, it's more than that. It's just more than that. Like when I first opened my restaurant here, for the first 4 years, I refused to fry chicken. I was like, I'm not serving fried chicken.
Yeah.
For 4 whole years. People were like, why is there no fried chicken here? I was like, because there's more Southern food than fried chicken, and I'm just not doing it. Sorry, y'all are gonna have to eat something else.
You know what's crazy about that is that all my years of when a chef by the name of Jeff Vigilia, amazing chef from the Big Island. He took over from when Lawrence McFadden left at Amelia, and he used to come and cook with me almost every day. And he's one of the most talented executive chefs I ever worked for that actually really cook. And his passion, and you can look him up on Facebook, and you'll see the stuff he's putting out. I mean, he's a beast. He's amazing. But I remember sitting down with him, and he said, Kenny, he says, how would you classify your food? And I said, well, it's kind of like continental, but, and again, I'm a baby. I was like, at this time he's asking, I'm probably 24, 25, and I've been cooking everything. I think my first trip was to Japan, so it had a heavy Asian influence, even though I was using local ingredients as well as international ingredients. And then he says, your food really is international cuisine with a Southern influence. He says, because you touch everything. He says, as you should in a Ritz-Carlton. We have people coming from all around the world. Your responsibility is in making them feel welcome when they come into the restaurant, whereas as Horst Schulze would say, a home away from home. So I thought about that. So that shaped my mind in terms of making sure my food was in a box, and not in a box, but like I was like global. I was like, man, I can bring in feral quail from the Mississippi, but guess what? I can marinate it in miso and honey. I can put that with some special seaweed called dulse out of Japan. I can do like an edamame little, truffle relish. I mean, I can take it to a whole nother level where you're going to eat it. I'm like, wow, this is glazed perfectly. It's cooked perfectly. I use a local Southern ingredients, but use international ingredients, because from a fine dining standard, that you have to do that. So like, to me, that's what it's about. But I would do Southern food maybe twice a year. I would do like some kind of ribs around the summertime because I was craving them, and that's when I started learning how to do alligator ribs, because I didn't want to do pork ribs. I said I need to do another rib that no one's not thinking about, because just because I'm black, I don't want them to say, oh, where the pork spare ribs at? Where the baby backs? Right? So I did alligator ribs, and then during the holidays, it's like, all right, well, I'm gonna do some greens. But my farmer, he had not only collards and mustards and turnips, but he had beautiful different types of kale and everything else. So then I was doing all these different melanges of these greens. It wasn't just one. And so I would do that around the holidays because I was, field peas wasn't just like black. It wasn't just like black eyed peas. I was doing like white acres and purple holes and crowders and all the other kind of stuff. So I try to stay away. It's like I was almost not embarrassed, but I wanted to show more diversity in who I was because I was black. I wanted to say, well, I can already do that. Let me show you all the other stuff I can do. And unfortunately, unfortunately, the reality is that I think a lot of us think like that.
Right.
Whereas other cultures, they embrace their culture 100%. If they're Italian, then they do Italian. Mark Forgione, he's not messing around. If you go to his restaurant, he'll do a steakhouse and he does Italian, because when he grew up as a kid, basically, whereas his dad is a chef, he's Italian. So that's what he grew up doing. But guess what? He invested in someone that's from Laos, and under his portfolio, he has a partner that is doing Laotian cuisine that he doesn't know anything about. But he invests in this person, says, you're going to do this the best. I'm going to let you do what you do. See, to me, that is credible. Because he's like, I'm not going to try to do this because I like the cuisine. I'm just not going to do it myself.
I'm not going to invest in you and put my name on it and take credit. I'm going to invest in you and let you have the credit for what you do. And so you touched on something that Kevin touched on, that Teresa touched on, that Christy touched on. So just because of the dynamics here in Kansas City, I didn't spend a lot of time in corporate restaurants. I learned very early in my career that if I was going to make my way, that I was going to have to find a way to do it myself, because I wasn't going to get what I needed working in those spaces. But you guys all talked about how you were in these positions in your career where you had people taking credit for your work, or you were training your supervisor or your superior or, the next person. And I just don't understand, the question is, we have these young people coming up and they're looking up to us, and they're hopefully going to watch this podcast. And I want to always leave them with like a nugget of advice. We've all been down that route. And, I think that the time for that is basically what my shirt says. Nope. Like, no more of us allowing our talent to be stolen, and no more of us staying in a space where we're training our boss and doing all our boss's work, and they just come in and sprinkle parsley on it and then get all the pats on the back when they absolutely did nothing to create the dish. But how can we encourage them? And then I think that we as a collective have to start thinking about ways that we can invest in our own community.
Absolutely. So let me to answer that first question or statement. The reality is the hierarchy of the kitchen is a hierarchy of the kitchen. And unfortunately, when I started, just like any of us, we start working for somebody that basically is better than us. Mm-hmm. And it just so happens for a lot of times, especially back in the day when you were, because there wasn't necessarily a lot of us where we can say, hey, we're going to this hotel to go work under this very, high level African-American Black chef. There was a very few. You had the Patrick Clarks, you had the Daryl Evans, and stuff like, it wasn't a lot. So at the end of the day, it's like, okay, we were always trained. It's just kind of like what Kevin talked about in his article in this piece, which was beautifully written, about the fact that, culinary schools are teaching you specifically about other international cuisine. Basically, ours is like very, very small. It might be a day, whereas we should have freaking a whole year of curriculum, about what we're doing. But the reality is, if you got to beat them at their own game. So don't look at that as a deterrent when you go in and you're learning about classical French, because guess what? The classical French technique is going to help you even embrace and be better at your cuisine when you adapt it. If you decide that you want to make a classic, one of the mother sauce, say a hollandaise, and then you decide, well, you know what? I want to take some of my pepper mash from these fermented hot peppers that I just got off my tree that I just planted in my garden, and I'm going to end up doing a fermented pepper mash hollandaise to complement this really unique, eggs Benedict that I'm doing. I'm doing a poached, sous vide, duck egg, and I'm putting on, a duck hash and sweet potatoes and whatever else. Guess what? We just took something. You got to know the classics before you can even make something that you have better. So we have to evolve, and some of that's going to take. You might go work with an Italian baker because you're in baking. Then guess what? Then go work with a French baker. Then go work with, you might find somebody. You might go to another city and say, "Oh, shoot, this baker has to be African American." Well, guess what? I guarantee that baker, if they're making proper croissants and focaccia and everything else, they work to learn the classics. Because you have to, and then you take those classics and turn them into yours, because you say, I know how to do it properly, And now I'm going to take these other ingredients that are close to my heart and how I grew up and turn them into something special. And that's and that's just training. You don't go, if I decide to go to like regionally, this was Southern cuisine or any cuisine, I can go up to Savannah or somewhere deeper in Georgia, South Georgia, and I can have collard greens that actually has some kind of cornbread dumpling where I've never ever had that. But that's a signature dish in that particular area. No one ever know about that unless they went to go eat that at that person's place, or unless they had a family member that lived in that area. So embrace the training, because you know what? You can't be so, you can't be frustrated. You're going to have to be, unfortunately, you kind of have to be a commis. At the end of the day, you have to be a commis before you can be a chef. You have to work your way up. So I do believe in that. But we have to realize there are a lot of us out there now that are running high level operations that basically when you come and work under us and with us, okay, not just under, it's not just like, oh, you're coming to work for me. No. You're coming to work with me. I have something I'm going to teach you, but you have something you have to bring as well. Okay. Right. You're not just a grunt that's just going to do whatever. I'm not going to have you just peel carrots all day. You're going to have to learn how to respect that carrot. You're going to clean it. You're going to peel it. You're going to cut it. You're going to cook it. You're going to preserve it, and all those kind of things. You're going to do the gamut. So before I even let you work with a piece of fish, you have to learn how to do that carrot. Now, I don't care who you are. We all have to go through that. So I think it's important to realize that we have to work our way up. Okay, but come up with have a plan. We talk about planning, time management, planning, all this kind of stuff back when we were in high school, and when we hit college and whatnot. They touch on a little bit. You really don't learn. I was very fortunate working for Ritz-Carlton that it was all about planning your goals. Yeah. Your 1 year goal, your 5 year goal, your 10 year goals. So what is your end result? We were driving the other day, and my wife asked me, so what is our end result? We moved to Raleigh. But then ultimately, what is the end result? We have these conversations a lot because the reality is that as you get older, what do you want to accomplish? Okay, yeah, we have a house, we have cars, we have investments, we've made money, we've lost money, all this kind of stuff. But what is the end goal? You have to think about what is your end result. If that means you're going to own a restaurant, great. But what does that mean? You want to have one restaurant? You want 2 restaurants? You want to have only one? You want to build an empire? And what is it? And do you understand what that means? Because you can say it and understand what it really means. And then it's your responsibility to ask the questions. For the young people out there, come out and actually have the dialogue. Set up an appointment. I have a lot of people. I mean, Barry Sexton just reached out to me on Facebook today. We actually talked about 30, 40 minutes today. I haven't talked to him in years. But just like he said, I might not talk to you every day or even every year. But best believe, because of our social media platform, I understand what you have going on. So when we have those conversations, have very pointed questions. How can I get to this? I'm currently doing this. Right. I'm not a person that I won't answer, that won't send me a message. I'll dive into it, but don't just say, "Oh, hey, what's going on?" There's a lot going on. Like I need you to be specific. What do you need? And I will answer that question. I will help you, because that's everything I've always done. It's funny. My wife always said, "Kenny, if you put as much passion as you do into training, developing the team, as you do into us and how we move on, we'll be freaking unstoppable." And it's funny because time management, balance, communication is so relevant where we are, because right now we're in survival mode. How do we survive? Well, because right now there's not one person of color that goes out of their house that does not think about, what if a police officer comes by, they pull me over for a random stop, that something potentially could happen. If they're not thinking about that, their head is in the ground. They're not thinking. Best believe
I tinted my windows this week on my car because it's so hot. And now I'm like, oh man, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe I shouldn't have tinted. They're not like overly dark, but I'm like, well, is it too, like, now I'm like extra paranoid about the fact that I have tinted windows. Like, I'm sure that no one else thinks about tinting their windows, but like, I'm like, oh man. Oh,
yeah. It's unfortunate right now where we are. We have to think about the thing. But you know what? Like Will Smith ended up saying on a post, he says racism isn't necessarily getting worse. It's just televised. we're seeing it up live and personal right now because we can see that we have progressed a lot. But right now, every time that something actually happens that's dramatic, that basically we're like, oh, here's another situation. This person got off. This is some bullshit. Everyone in the world can see what's happening, but the jury and the freaking judge and the damn attorneys basically can't figure out that these people just kill the person. That if they did that to a dog, if they did what they did to George Floyd, if it was a dog, they would already been already under jail. Like, I don't give a damn what he did prior. Because guess what? If he's out, it's time served. Whatever he did, if he decided to smoke 10 blunts and he was sitting on a bench and he was high as a kite, and then they came and started messing with him, like, okay, so like, what are you gonna do? You put him in jail because he's high right now? If he's hurting somebody, attacking somebody, armed robbery, like the guy that fucking shot up the damn church in South Carolina, he fucking like they took him to Burger King before they took him in. He had one bruise on him. Are you kidding me? And you wonder why people are fucking pissed off and upset, and why like I'm looking at my children, my grandchildren, about what if they're just walking down the street? You don't even want to be outside. It's bad enough that over the years it's harder to all those things that happen that how it happened for us. I remember I was gone like at 8 o'clock in the morning or whatever. I was on my bike. I was on my friends. I didn't come home unless I was changing, taking a shower, getting something to eat, and going back out. No, where you going? Don't leave past this right here. Okay. You know
I've been protesting, and I literally have to find my iPhone app up, and I'm like, if I'm watching TV, I'm like, okay, checking his location. Where are you? What are you doing? I'm like, you have my number written on your body somewhere. Like, and who would think that in 2020 I'm going to be having a conversation with my 17-year-old about how to properly protest? So I have another question since we're talking about this survival mode. We talked about industry. We've talked about media. What's the one thing industry-wise that you don't think that the industry needs to bring into this new normal? And that's a business thing, and then you as a personal chef. There's something that in this time of slowdown, you've decided, as I move forward, this is going to stay behind. I'm not going to incorporate this into my career anymore. And then the same thing for industry.
And by the way, this is not a new normal. I hate I'm sorry.
I can't think of a new way to say it.
Not a new normal. I say that only because I've already lived through a devastation, and right now this is just a pandemic. This is just the future. What is going to be into the future?
Okay.
It's just it's.
I think in my opinion, based on that, I really feel that what I don't want to have happen is I don't want all of a sudden everyone just coming out of the woodworks and saying, "Oh, look at the black chefs that are basically let's say, oh, here's the black chef. This is black chef. Here's the black chef. Here's the black chef." No, I'm a fucking chef. I just happen to be black. Okay, I'm proud to be black, and I have no problem. My heritage and my lineage and so on and so forth. We can talk about that in terms of press and where I came from and everything else. If you identify to me as I am a man, I am a professional, and I am a chef. Don't just during the Me Too movement, just because you're a female, okay, guess what? There's a lot of females that have been a lot more accomplished than men and vice versa. Basically identify in my accomplishments as a person, as a human being. That's what I want. I don't want, and it's like Al Sharpton ended up saying it like the other day. He was like, you know what? We don't want any kind of, special privileges. Just get your fucking knee off my fucking neck. Just let me do what I got to do and give me the opportunity to give everybody else. That's it. There's no more. Don't, like when I've done 5 James Beard dinners, right? 5 James Beard dinners. 4 that operations I've been with paid for them. 1 were basically me and my businesses basically paid for it. Okay, where we celebrated. I don't think any of them. I wasn't a part, and I've seen other collaborations where it's like, oh, we're doing a celebrity. These 4 black chefs are coming to James Beard. No, fuck that. No, when I went, it's like I'm a chef. I'm cooking this food. I'm being celebrated because of who I am and how I busted my ass in this industry. Don't just say, hey, let's bring together 4 black chefs, and we're gonna say, do you say that when now if you're bringing in, say for example, specific chefs from Italy, okay, We're saying that we're bringing these 4 specialty chefs from Sicily. They're doing a Sicilian dinner. They're coming from Italy. That's very specific. Hey, we're bringing in these 4 chefs from South Africa. Do they all have to be black? No. They could be in South Africa. There could be one that could be, I mean, it could be whatever. They're born and raised there. They're South African. It's, you know, I have a good friend that basically is a pastry chef. She's South African. She's white. You know, now if you do a South African dinner, then you have, okay, then you have that dialogue. But don't just say, I just don't want, what I don't want to have happen is everything is just like, oh, what is happening right now? And that's why I was pissed off at Zagot. And I told Chris that. I said, I'm pissed off because the funny thing is, the amount of times I've been working under high-level resorts, because that's how I started my career. I've been reviewed by Zagot and AAA and Mobile and Forbes and JD Power and Associates and Gallup and so on and so forth. They on there when you get that basically that review sent you via email or back in the day paper. It didn't say, oh, it said, how was your dining grill room, fine dining? How was your dining experience? How was your hostess experience? How was your lounge experience? How was your cocktail? How was your service? How was the food? Did you get a cheese card? They asked those are rough questions. They didn't say, what do you think about the chef because he was fucking black? They didn't ask that. What do you think about the chef because he was French? They said, what did you think about the food? And then we were rated. I was always in the top 3 in the company, if not number 1. And my brother was working in the cafe. It was the same thing. We were proud because we busted our asses as men that basically were educated. My brother, no one realizes, my brother is a regional chef for Kessler Hotels. He's badass. He's regional chef. He's opening up in Charlotte right now. He was in Birmingham. He's over like 4 different properties. When he came to work with me, he basically started off as a server in the Ocean Bar and Grill, the pool bar restaurant. He came home every day. He said, Kenny, I want to go back to school. He said, I want to go to school for culinary. I said, Kirk, you don't need to go to school for culinary. I said, I'll tell you why. I already spent $30,000. Okay, I will help educate you. I was like, all my books are lined up right here. You're going to start off reading this book, and you're going to finish all these other books. And then in between that, as you're serving, then you're going to work part-time in the garbage day department. He started doing that. Within 2 years, he became the chef of the cafe when I was chef of the grill room. He worked under me for a year and then went over to the cafe, worked there for 6 months, and then in 6 months became a chef. And then we basically had the whole place on freaking lockdown for years because he was self-taught. I helped teach him, but guess what? I would come home, he would have vegetable carvings, fruit platters, all kinds of stuff in the refrigerator for me to inspect when I came home. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't need anyone to give me shit. I will earn my keep, but give me the opportunity to give everybody else. That's all I want.
Then I agree. So then as we move forward, this is our last question. How do we as how do we as Black chefs control the narrative? Because Teresa talked about this on her episode and Christy talked about this on her episode. So I feel like it's just a follow-up question with each guest. How do we tell our stories? How do we control the narrative? And how do we make sure that we are being honored in an authentic way? And not because, oh, that's Shanita, she's the one Black female chef in Kansas City. Let's give her a gold star for that.
Well, you know what? I think this is a deeper question, a deeper response, because I look at this as sometimes we as a culture are not as supportive as we should be. If you think about the movement in music right now, Jay-Z, Diddy, DJ Khaled, all these different people of color banded together, they ended up having like a billionaires weekend where basically everyone that was in there basically made up billions of dollars. And they were talking about their strength in terms of athletes, in terms of music, and so on and so forth. It's one of the first times they all got together and were basically celebrating each other. Because everything, if you think about every hip hop award show that we could think of back when we were coming up, when you know Death Row got up and they was talking shit about Diddy and Biggie and everything else, everyone we were against each other. It was this room against this room. The way that we control the narrative is by celebrating each other and understanding our own history. Because guess what? We're never going to move forward unless I understand what you've been through, what Kevin's been through, what freaking Todd Richards has gone through, whoever. You know what I mean? We all have to understand and respect each other. We're not on the plantation anymore, and pissed off because this person is in the master's house and we're out in the fucking field. That shit is over. Okay, we need to celebrate each other. We all are at different levels and we can help each other. So the way we control the narrative is banding together. The Chinese don't have a fucking problem with it. The Mexicans don't have a fucking problem with it. You know what I mean? Every other culture. But you know what? It happened to us because of exactly what happened during the slave trade and basically how they had us torn apart. If you were fair skinned, then you were good enough to be in the fucking master's house because the husband was trying to sleep with the women and vice versa. You know, we need to stop that bullshit and basically celebrate each other. That doesn't mean we can't be like me and Barry had this conversation today. Like, it doesn't mean that, like, if I have a conversation and say, you know what, if I come and actually eat at your restaurant, you know, or you come and eat at mine, that you can't be brutally honest. It's okay to say, you know what, I thought that was good, but it was a little overseasoned for me, or it's a little spicy for me. You know what I mean? Because guess what? Just because you're black doesn't mean that you're going to like what I cook. Because guess what? In your household, maybe your parents actually had high cholesterol and high blood pressure, which more likely they did, but then they were smart enough to stay away from salt because they want to be around a lot longer. And then maybe your palate is a little less sodium driven because of that. It's okay. So we need to basically keep putting everything that we're doing in the forefront. We need to represent each other. We need to communicate with each other. We need to be supportive of each other. We also need to be honest with each other. If someone ended up reading that article and say, you know what, Kenny, I read the article, but in my opinion, you were in this moment about this and that, and so on and so forth. I could say, great, that was your opinion. I respect it. Thank you. Let's move on. You know what I mean? And then, but I heard you. You don't have to agree with me. You know what I'm saying? I don't agree with and that's the whole thing. But we should not be shutting each other out. So to control the narrative, first we have to truly band together, support each other, and then as you know, it's interesting. You have Tyler Perry, you have Oprah Winfrey, you have a lot of very powerful people with a lot of money. Mm-hmm. Okay, we can't tell them what to do with their money. Okay, no. But I will say this: I had Jalen Ramsey's agent contact me 1 year at Gilbert Social. And they said, oh, we would love for Jalen and a couple other athletes I represent to come and do like a media day kind of thing at your restaurant, blah, blah, blah. You know, you just pay me like pay us $10,000, to come in and whatever. I was listening to him. I said, well, thank you. I said, but no, I'm not paying Jalen Ramsey $10,000 to come to my restaurant because he think that he's going to draw people into my restaurant. First of all, that I would never get my money back. That's not that's not validated. That's irrelevant. I said, but you know what you can do? I said, I'm gonna give you this. I'm gonna give this to you. I'm gonna help you make some money. I said, how about you get your players to all put $1 million each together and buy up from MLK on A Street all the way to Main Street, and you build all that to make it where when people come into this city, that they can get stay at a hotel there. They can get haircuts there. There could be a really high-level car wash. There could be whatever. How about you develop that whole strip? And if you develop that whole strip, I guarantee even if they're not here anymore, they're going to constantly make money on that investment. That's $1 million investment that's going to flip like that. I said, and then if you want me to help you develop that area, I will band and put together some other people that will be interested because you can probably get it for $7 a square foot in that area because it's so cheap. And guess what? Because you're developing over there, that's going to help. To me, that helps control the narrative. Bring us together. Let's take our money together, invest, and build up. Versus just saying it's okay. It's okay just for like, because guess what? Everyone else is doing it. Everyone else is doing it, but us in that manner.
Yeah. And Kenny, I'm not trying to interrupt you, but at the same time, you and I have had that conversation years ago. Years and years ago, where we see us in this industry going at each other when there's enough for everybody. There's enough for everybody. But my thing is, how much more do we have to go through for us to get it? Our community has to actually, woo-woo, Black Lives Matter, yes, we do. Woo-woo, we are important, yes, we are. But we got to know that as a community, and we don't know that yet. We love all this publicity. We love all this, look at us. We love all this protesting, not the rioting, but all this other, the lights are on us. Okay, so if the lights are on us, let's do something with it. Let us all understand as a community and come together. We're not there yet. And as just Chef Kevin just said, he said, we can all shine. Yes, we can. But
right.
we can't understand. We don't have that mentality yet.
Well, it's just like, I watch a lot of on Instagram. I watch a lot of First Take and a lot of these high level clips in there because I'm not always at a TV, so I get the highlights, which I enjoy even more so than watching the show. And the reality is that there's a lot of people of money that actually can help. Now, see, Michael Jordan just donated $100 million to help fight against this. Now that's the first time he's done that we know of publicly all these years. He's been a billionaire for a long time. He's gonna make, LeBron James basically created a school.
Well,
which is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, some of these people should actually go into actually investing in the banks. We start talking about like billions of dollars. You have billions of dollars. Like you can start up a bank where that you're supporting minority-owned business. Now you'll take anybody's money that comes in there, but you know that you're putting together a program because here's the thing: you have to be real about it. Just because I all of a sudden come into some money, and I said, cool, I'm going to do what I just said and develop the all of Main Street,
right.
Okay, or A Street, and then I'm going to be smart to diversify that area. I'm not going to. If you come to me and you say, hey, you know what? I want to open up, a seafood shack. I want to do like garlic crabs, I'm gonna say great, because we don't actually, out of our list, okay, you're the second person that's come to me and said you want to do seafood trays. Right. Where's your business plan? I'm gonna ask that question.
Right.
Oh, what is that? Okay, so then I'm gonna go back and again through this whole systemic racism scenario. You think about where this person grew up, his education, and everything else. He's not gonna know what a business plan is necessarily. He may have the best sauce and the best seafood. It's our responsibility then to understand where people that are going to be asking for stuff are going to be deficient. So then I'm going to put in other plans. I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to have a financial advisor. I'm going to have a business, someone that has a master's degree in business is going to be able to help put this thing together because I want to help you, but I'm not going to be a fool and just give you $1 million to open up something. You don't know what to do with it. But you know what? I'm also realize that if no one else is coming to ask me, how else can we get this out there? It's education. So like when LeBron James is making sure that people are educated by creating a school, and Jalen Rose created a school, and probably a lot of other athletes that aren't, televising it. The reality is knowledge is power. That's first and foremost. So the ones that are educating in schools, that's great. But then what's the next step? Yes, it's gonna be the banks. It's just like the athletes when they go into in any kind of sport, NFL, whatever. At some point, they actually have big meetings for all the rookies. They have financial advisors and everything else. Some of them, what they do, you can hear the story about Shaq. He blew like $1 million his signing bonus in like less than 5 hours because he went out and bought like all these cars. Didn't have the money for the taxes. You can hear about all these different Clinton Portis, all these different athletes tell the same story. Someone needs to actually rein them in and say, you know what, as a league, it should be like, yes, you're making this money. Automatically, we're putting it in escrow. You're gonna give you X amount, okay, and we're gonna help manage it for you. Maybe that might not be the ideal situation because you don't know what has been accumulated up to that point. But you know what? We're here to help you move forward because you're not educated enough yet. Because guess what? You just came out of college after a year. You didn't get the education you needed to be able to go buy it because you know what? You were actually more worried about playing because you thought that was going to be your easy way out. But how do you keep the money? How do you keep the money?
And then you also come from a system where your family is probably living paycheck to paycheck. And that's not saying that. And in an area of town where banks have predatory lending practices towards people of color, there's a particular bank that's decided to, donate $100 million. And I'm like, great, Bank of America, we appreciate your $100 million, but what we would like for you to do is create a housing program for poor neighborhoods so that you can go back and redevelop the neighborhoods that you decimated in 2008 with your predatory mortgages towards minority people. That would be helpful than creating some type of like $100 million fund that people then still have difficulty accessing these grants. Because I've looked at some of them, and some of the things that they ask, the regular people don't have that. They don't have it. They don't have a profit and loss sheet. They don't have a balance statement. They don't have it. They probably, if they have a small business, they've probably been using their personal checking account. So then if they try to get bank statements, their personal bills are mixed in with the business bills, because nobody's ever taught that whole piece.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And again, it goes, if you think about the root of it, it goes back to education. And I think it goes back to education. And so I think if you start off by going to the schools in some of these areas that are shit, and you give them the money that they need for the teachers and giving them the tools they need, that's going to start off, because kids are so smart. My grandkids are freaking, they'll grab an iPad, you're just like,
you've never shown them one thing, and they just pick it up.
They figure it out. They figure it out. So why not? The kids has always been our future. If you give them the tools, then they will actually use those tools to thrive. And there's some downfall with that, because right now our kids don't know how to play. They're more susceptible to illnesses because they didn't drink out the water fountain or out the damn water hose in the backyard. They're like, hey, I need some bottled water. Hey, let me go to this this.
But at the same time, you guys, it still comes back to that we don't even have Sunday dinners anymore.
No.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have that grandma that says, everybody come to the table, sit down, let's have a dinner, let's pray over our food. It comes back to us in the homes.
Right, because the grandmas are my age, and I'm just 40. So,
But,
yeah.
but it comes back to all full circle, our community. We have to invest in ourselves, into our communities, into our children, our future children, so that they know the history.
Yep.
Our babies don't even know history. In 2020. You know what I mean? They're not being taught our history in the schools. It's up to us.
Yes.
It's up to us. And I completely enjoyed this conversation. We're coming close to the end.
Yes.
Because I have to go and bake. I'm still on my hustle. I'm still working right now. But it comes back to you, Kenny. It comes back to you, Shanita. It comes back to me. I have 2 nieces and nephews. I have stepchildren. I have people that I mentor. And if Chef Kevin has his students in his school, Chef Cassandra, all of us have the responsibility of sharing the history, sharing education, as in financial. Some people don't even know how to balance a checkbook. They don't even know how to open up a checking account. It's up to us.
Yeah, for sure.
I really appreciate your words today. You have been a very passionate, very confident, amazing chef out there on television, in our community. And as a friend, I appreciate you.
Your candor is very refreshing.
Very refreshing. Sometimes for me it's a little strong, but I have to take that because I know you, and I love you for everything that you are. What I'm trying to say is, from this conversation, I hope people really take it to heart and actually flip this shit around.
Yeah.
And reach out, not just to protest, not just to. It's just to actually make our community strong. As you said, everybody else does it.
Yeah.
1,000%. Yeah.
Everybody. We see it in the industry all the time, because there is no way that you could be angry at 2 German chefs and we know that they're fighting. But if you come up against them, they're going to stick like this.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
But if it's us, and I've watched it. You've watched it. We all watched it. If it's us, these two black chefs are talking about each other, and they're going to stay talking about each other. They're not going to say, and if someone comes up to them, they're not going to band together. We need to band together.
It's as simple as going in and saying, "Listen, we're not in the master's house anymore. We're not divided. There's not one in the master's house and one in the slave quarters. We're all together. So like, wake the fuck up.
We
Seriously.
You know,
yeah.
We need to wake up, but as a community, not for America or for Europe or anyone else, but for ourselves as a community. I just want to say thank you. And I hope that we can continue this conversation again, bring you back on with a couple of other chefs so that we can broaden our horizons.
I'm thinking of a round table here soon where we can get six of us on here at one time.
I really hope from all this experience that is going on right now that, especially in the culinary and in our history, and I see Kevin, years ago, and I'll just make it quick. Years ago, I reached out to Chef Kevin Mitchell, and I wanted to open a culinary school and call it Culinary Wonders USA. And it would be teaching for all the different ethnic groups of culinary.
Yeah.
You know? And it would be more of adult education. It would be, more progress where you have this beautiful library of all these cookbooks of culture, and it wouldn't just be Black. It would be Indian and Chinese and all these Asian or whichever.
Yeah.
If we could get to that point, but still band together, I think that would be amazing. And I hope that we could maybe figure that out one day while we're still alive. I would like to see that. So
yeah, I think it can happen.
So much. You touched our hearts.
Thank you.
We really love your boldness. And
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You have a great night, and
we'll see you guys next Tuesday.
All right, see you later. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.